Good morning, Pack community. This is Coach JT here on Inside the Dugout with the Pack, and I've got a special guest today, Coach Colby Chavez, and he's the head softball coach at Lassen Community College in Susanville, California.
Yep.
And he had a good weekend. I'm sure he'll share that about with us today, but we wanted to bring him on and kind of have him introduce himself to the community so that we can know what he's doing out there in California. And why don't you take it from there, Coach?
All right. Hey, thanks for having me. Like Coach said, Coach Colby Chavez here at Lassen Community College in Northern California. We're in Susanville, California, so we're at the top. We get all kinds of weather. We're in the snow. We're right near Reno, Nevada. It's kind of the closest big city to us. So we are community college, but we're California Community College, so it's a little different than like the NJCAA or the NWACS or things like that. So California JC, we only play California junior colleges, in season. So, we've got, I think it's around 80 colleges that have just softball in the state of California. So they break it up, north and south. So we've got around 40. The south has a little more. And then we meet, at the end of the year for the state championships. A little bit about myself now that introduce, where we're at. I was raised here. I'm from Susanville, California. I actually played 2 years of junior college baseball here at Lassen. So hometown kid. I went off, played in Oklahoma at a Division II when I was done and got my master's degree and jumped right into coaching, right away. So I had little brothers. So I was always, around it, helping, my dad out, helping little teams. So I just kind of loved the game. I've always loved the game, wanted to be around it. And that's why I just kind of felt like, stay around the game, get to coach and be involved. So my coaching journey kind of took me all over the place. So this game has blessed me with so many ways of meeting people, jumping in coaching. I started out, strength and conditioning. I was working at University of California, Berkeley, with their football team. So, I thought that's kind of what I really wanted to do at first. And that's kind of my background is kinesiology and that realm of world. So did that for a year, loved it, got a job opportunity to teach and coach out in Colorado. So I was teaching at Ames Community College. They didn't have athletics, but I was getting a lot of opportunities to coach travel ball. I was working at a DBAT out there. And then I also got hired as the infield coach with the Northern Colorado Owls. They were an independent baseball team out there for a little bit. They were in Orem, then went to Northern Colorado, and then now they've since folded. But that's kind of, where the background came in. So a lot of infield, a lot of hitting. And then my wife and I were kind of looking for full-time jobs in the teaching and coaching realm. And Lassen College popped up, so we're both from here, jumped at it. I made it through and got the job and came back. So this is year 4 here at Lassen. So every year we've gotten significantly better. We started out year 1 with 10 girls and 6 wins, so it was get your feet wet, get set to the fire and learn as you go. And then year 2, we went from 6 wins to 17 wins. Last year we had around that 17-19 win again, and we were top 16 teams in the North go to the playoffs. We were team 17, so just missed the playoff bid by a year. And then this year, we're looking to get over that hump a little bit and, keep the culture rolling and keep getting these great kids that we have to compete in, Northern California for one, and then at the state level as well.
This sounds amazing, Coach. So you've only been there for a couple of years now, and in this win immediately kind of culture that we have, that's pretty amazing because it's great to see that you've not only ventured out, but you've come back to your roots. You come back to home, come back to where you played a little bit. You're getting to contribute to that organization. Can you speak a little bit to the community about how that feels for you, how that's working out for you?
Yeah, it was definitely a welcome home to the community, and it means a little more. It's my hometown, it's my pride. I love everything about Susanville, and that's kind of what brought us back is that community feel, and sorry about that. All the support that we have from the community, getting the job right away. We immediately saw the impacts of people coming out like, oh, okay, let's see what's going on here. Our baseball community and basketball, they've had the coaches in that culture, where people have been coming out and supporting. And then softball was kind of in a lot of change. So now it's like, oh, hometown kid, let's see if we can support, and then now we flipped it right away to getting the right kids to come in and, buy into what we're trying to do here. And it's developed the whole player. It's softball is a byproduct, of what we do. It's education is always first, especially in the world of softball. There's a very select few who can play this game for a long time. The professional realm is not huge yet. So we put that first, and we get out in the community. So we do a lot of community service, let the community see our faces, let them know that, hey, we are college students. We're not from here, but we're buying into the community. We want the full support. And they've done that, and they've really, really bought into the community has to our program, and helped our girls. They offer, sometimes lunches. They offer to come do things if a kid's struggling. Like, hey, we have a couple kids from Hawaii, a kid from American Samoa. So we have kids from all over the place: Utah, Washington, Oregon, Nevada. So those kids are far from home, and they don't have that family life, besides myself, my assistant coaches, and the softball team, and sometimes you want a home cooked meal from someone other than seeing your coach all the time, and the community really, really does that and buys in. And, it's a great place to be. It's like, tell people all the time, it's like a Hallmark card, a Hallmark town, a Hallmark collection. That's what Susanville is, small town feel, and everyone buys in, and that's what makes this place go.
That's pretty cool. That's good and exciting to know. And I imagine being in the California League, you guys are seeing some pretty healthy competition.
Yeah. Competition here is very good. It trickles. I mean, we're in the top, so we see, our own Golden Valley Conference is what we're in. And then it goes all the way down south. So we don't see the Southern teams too much until we get to the playoffs. But yeah, it's very competitive. Our state championships are always well watched and well recruited from. We have a lot of kids move on to every single level of softball from California. So it's a great place to be coaching in and be playing in.
Yeah. And I know in our community, we talk about it all the time about culture and acceptance. And one of the things that these girls coming out of high school they seem to be a little more scared of venturing away from home than the boys. Like our boys, like my nephew, we just placed him in a school in Maryland, and we're in Colorado, and he's like, I don't care. See ya.
Yeah.
What can you speak a little bit to what you see when you're welcoming these girls in, how you get them to get over those first couple of weeks where they're trying to discover who their teammates are, who the team is, who the town is? What do you do with these girls, and how do you help them get settled in?
Absolutely. Yeah. That the first month is always the hardest and the most awkward, right? You have kids that sometimes some kids have never been away from home or never spent, more than 2 days away from family. So that always is the hardest part. So we really try to put softball itself on the back burner, that first month. Like we have August, September, October, November, December, half of January to develop, get ready for opening day. So that's a lot of time. We're in no hurry. So that first month is really about getting to know each other, know our stories. So, like I said, we're really trying to take that first month to really get to know each other. We do a lot of team barbecues, team events. This is something that myself and the coaching staff have really learned from year 1 to year 4, and we're definitely going to keep evolving because year 1 we didn't do a lot of it, and when we kind of realized that, this is more important, especially on the women's side of things. We have to develop these relationships quick. So we do that. We introduce them to the community. We'll do a couple hikes, walking around, uptown, downtown. There's a couple lakes in the vicinity. So we try to get out and show that it's more than just the softball field, the dorms, the campus, and that main street of Susanville. There's more to that. So we introduce them. There's a lot of different events running in those first couple months in Susanville. So we try to get out and just, get away from the dorm, get away from sitting around, staying busy, keeping your mind busy and active, and not thinking about being home and missing home and those relationships that you miss, because now we've got a new family to introduce, and every year is different. Some girls, click right away, and that team bonding goes quick. This year, it took a little longer for us. And I think we had a lot of kids that came in, with like 2 or 3 that they knew. So they didn't necessarily have to open up right away and find, their whole teammate because they were comfortable with that group of kids that they already knew. So I think that's why it took a little longer, in my opinion. But now, we're seeing kids that we never thought would open up to each other are really opening up because they understand that it's family. And myself, something that I've done this year is I always tell them I have an open door, but some kids take advantage of that, some don't, and sometimes they're afraid to talk to coach. And I don't ever want that feeling from an athlete. Like, hey, I want you to feel comfortable coming to talk to me. You're a person first, softball player second, So something I did this year is I made it mandatory 2 times a month. You sign up and you come talk to me in my office. It could be 1 minute, it could be 30 minutes. It's completely up to you. You run the conversation. It could be about softball. Hopefully, I don't want it to be, but it could be. I have a snack drawer in my office solely for the kids. Some of them walk in. Sometimes they won't even say nothing. They'll just walk by me, grab a snack, be like, "Oh, coach, hey, see you later." I go, "Oh, nice to see you," and have on your day. So that gives me a chance to see them outside of softball where they can, put on a face really and be all in. Now I get to see what they're feeling like, if they're down, if they're happy, if they're not, and see them in a different realm and really try to attack that angle and make sure they're comfortable. And if they are struggling, I want to know because I want to be the first to help them through that. It's really a human-centered approach first here, and then everything else kind of comes second.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that, coach. And I want to bring up something you mentioned just briefly there. So a lot of times, because I run a big travel ball organization, right, and I'm sending girls out to the schools, and one of the challenges that they have, or one of the things that they think is going to help them, is to actually take their friends with them wherever they go. And can you address that a little bit? Because if I caught it right, what you actually said is that's harder to integrate than if you go and you have to open up and make new friends and be vulnerable right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, there is a comfortability factor there. It does help to have someone, but you have to be willing to still get outside of your comfort zone. And I think that's the biggest push is it definitely hindered our team a little bit this year with that is just because, I'm like, oh, I've got my 4 and I don't really need anyone else. I've got my 2. I've got my best friend, my companion. She's got my back. I've got her back. And I don't need to dive into that. And really what we're seeing with the team is you have to be able to support each other in all aspects, not just softball. And it bleeds off and on the field, So we do see that, yes, there is a comfortability and it might help you in the beginning. But in the long run, it hinders you in your time with your teammates because you're not, fully diving in and really getting to know them on a deeper level than just softball in their name, So we did it's like a speed dating type of thing this year where you sit down and we're rotating constantly and getting to know each other. And it's a different topic every time to help you dive in. And sometimes we have to force that issue to have those harder conversations, with the kids, or deeper conversations, I guess is probably the right word. Because a lot of them in that travel ball, that's a small community, right? With your teams. And you're playing a lot of games in a short time and, you get to grow and with those kids. And sometimes you don't see them every day, so that's the other aspect that we see is we spend a lot of time with each other, especially at a small community college. You're in all your classes together. You're in the dorms together. You're eating together. You're at the field together. So sometimes, you get tired of each other and that kind of wears in. But I think if you develop those deep conversations and deep relationships, then you can get over it. It's like a sibling, you're going to fight with your brother, you're going to fight with your sister, but at the end of the day, you love each other and you move on. And if we can establish that and be open in the beginning, that's kind of what helps us continue on throughout the year. So it is good sometimes to go with a team or with friends or people, but I don't think it's a mandatory. You got to venture out at some point, right? Everyone's leaving the nest. You're leaving, and for the first time, and sometimes we don't think about your parents are feeling the same way. First time their kid's gone, are they worrying about, are they eating? Are they sleeping? Are they doing the right things all the time? So everyone has to reach out eventually and branch out and go on their own. And so I think college, no matter where you go, is a great time for that. Because, you're learning to be an adult, learning to take care of yourself, learning to go through all of those things. And if you go by yourself, you're only going to develop more and more connections, and sometimes those connections are going to help you get a job later on down the road, so this game is very powerful when it comes to that. And I think if you can really dive into that and accept that we're going to meet new people and it's okay, then it's only going to help you down the road.
Yeah, I love that, coach. And you have mentioned briefly that it's not just about the girls, because the parents are going through something I know 2 years ago, this is her second year in JUCO. My daughter's playing softball in Iowa, and when we were letting her go, it was like I spent the last 6 years every weekend, every night, and then she lived here and she had school, and all her friends came here, and then all of a sudden she was gone. And I didn't realize until because my first daughter just went to a local college. She went to the University of Denver, and she's doing pre-med there, but she is not very far. She's 30 minutes away.
Mhm.
Iowa is a much bigger distance, a much different story. Can you speak a little bit to how you help parents, especially when you're in recruiting and you're talking to them? What are you saying to help make them feel comfortable with sending their daughters to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a very important piece. So, letting the parents know that I am always a phone call away, and I'm going to keep it, straight with you and tell you exactly how it's going. Like we had a girl, she had some medical things that, caused some, seizures and things like that. So you can only imagine what her mom is feeling, letting go and making sure that her kid is taken care of. And we made sure that we kept an update, monthly, weekly, if something ever went, we're keeping up with the parent, and also I think what is a huge help for me is my wife and my mom. My parents still live here. My dad actually is on my coaching staff and helps me. So it's family in the truest sense of the word here at Lassen College, so my mom is retired. She worked up at the hospital, so she has time, to help and care for the girls. So that's like another motherly figure that really, really helps me out a ton and keeps a lot of these parents sane, helps me. My wife helps me, and my dad as well. So sometimes when, I'm younger, I'm not that old compared, in the coaching realm. So sometimes the girls look to my parents, as that figure. So that's very helpful. And then I can bounce ideas off of them and get their aspect of what, they would like as a parent. And then I can kind of help that and make sure I talk to all families. So every time they come in, either for a visit or when they're on move-in day, I make it a point to meet every single kid's parents. Sometimes they drop them off and go. Sometimes they want to have a deep conversation. We'll sit down and talk because I want you to feel that this is the most genuine in place for you. And your daughter's going to be taken care of, because I know all these kids kind of turn into my kids. I worry about them every second of every day. It keeps me up at night. Are they doing the right things? They go into class? Are they eating? So I can only imagine what someone from far away is feeling. So we really make sure that they are comfortable and everything is up front. We give them all the information. We're never hiding anything. We want to make this as genuine and straightforward. And if we say it, if we're about it, we want to make sure that we stick to that plan, because, your word is very powerful in this, and we're making sure we're not going against that. So families really know that we're caring for the best interest of their kid, not just softball. And, there's so many opportunities after community college. If you do the right things, you go to class, you're good in the community, you're respectful, you develop all those different, features, you're going to get a chance somewhere. It may not be your number one choice, may not be your third, but you're going to give it a chance to continue on, get your education for hopefully as little cost as possible, and that's really what's important for us, is what kind of human are you going to be outside of softball? Because softball is a very, very small percent. And I think the parents really appreciate that, that we do care for their best interest. It's not just softball and go, it's winning is important. Trust me, I'm one of the most competitive people out there. I don't like to lose, but if we're not winning after they leave here, then we didn't do our job. They got to win past here at the next level. And then once they graduate from there too, in everything they do, are they going to be great moms? Are they going to be great family members? Are they going to be great employees? All those things we really tried to help them with. And, a lot of them, they already have those great bases from their families. We just kind of stay on them and keep enforcing those values that their families gave them, and make sure that they're learning. Growing as a kid, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a ton of mistakes, but learn how to deal with that and really use that to your advantage at the next level. And every time you move on and get a new career, new job, new whatever.
I love it, Coach. I love it. And I want to touch on something you just mentioned here about softball is such a small percentage of what's happening here, right? Because softball is this small thing, but we as coaches use softball to teach life lessons, to teach how to be a good leader, a good follower, a good citizen, a good person, a good husband, a good wife, a good, whatever it is, because there are so many life lessons wrapped up in this game if you really commit to what you're doing. But on top of that, you can get your schooling and your secondary education paid for or partially paid for. And all of that counts, right? All of that counts. I went through as an athlete and fortunately with scholarship, the majority of my way. The first year I was in scholarship, and it took me a while to even pay off that debt. And my wife wasn't scholarshiped at all, and we just recently paid off that debt. So it makes a significant difference. And I want to kind of sort of expand on that. Softball is a small percentage, but makes a massive, massive impact in your life, and kind of share what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like here at Lassen, this gives us, so we are what's called a WUI school. So California community colleges cannot give athletic scholarships. We are the rare state that doesn't allow it. So at our school, because we're a little rural, the 14 Western states, they get a tuition waiver basically for being a resident and being enrolled in 12 units and maintaining, above a 2.0. So you get a significant tuition waiver where it makes it $1,000 a semester to go to school here. So one right there, that is a huge deficit in tuition where you're not going to set yourself back, right? So, $2,000 a year, you're not in this huge debt from the start. And then, you kind of build on that. If you can apply for scholarships, you can do whatever, and then go to class. We make it study hall mandatory, and we stay up to grade checks on grades, because that's what's going to carry you more than anything. And if you can promote yourself to the next level as a good grade kid, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, coaches are going to take a chance on you rather than someone that's always messing up, is a headache, doesn't have good grades. They can supplement that scholarship. So now you're coming out of there, with even less of an expense. And I think, especially in today's world, we put such a high premium on, I got to play D1. I got to get the biggest scholarship. I got to take that picture, letting everyone know, and it's like, okay, did that really help you? Or is that a year? Where are you after that? Softball ends for everyone at some point. So did that set you up for success? And if it does, hey, go do it. More power to you. I love that, but you have to, and it's really hard. You got to look at the big picture. I know parents are looking at the big picture. Kids, everyone was 18, 19 once, right? We only look at what's in front of us, and we don't look at our future too much. So we really try to help that out. And that's where I think my dad and my assistant coach comes in to, hey, here's proof, set yourself up. This is a lot of years of experience from multiple people that kind of show different routes they took, mistakes they made. You got to take chances. And that's ultimately what it counts, because you're not living and not playing it safe if you don't take a chance. Right. But you learn from it, and you try to use those experiences. We use a lot of anecdotal evidence to help these kids, like, hey, I'm not perfect, I'm beyond perfect. And I think once we break that down and get through that, like, we can be on a human level. And it's like, I'm not preaching at you. I'm trying to help you because this is what I experienced and what I learned, So a lot of those things really help. And the money issue is like, it's getting crazy. And then with NIL and transfer portal and all that type of stuff, you really don't know what's going to happen, right? So there's so many unknowns right now in the college realm that got to take care of what you can first. And if you can't afford it and you're setting yourself up for failure, then did you really make the best decision for you? So we want to make sure that kids are comfortable. I tell kids all the time, I want volunteers, not hostages here. I don't want to have to say, hey, this is the best thing for you. You have to come here because this, and this. No, I want you to volunteer and be here for all the right reasons. One, you trust in us as a coaching staff, and you like what we do. You trust the school, you trust the academics, you trust that all that's going to transfer and help you once you're done with here and once you're done at the next level. So we try to embrace that and really put that forward to our kids. And, I think that's why we've had such a turnover, a success rate, of what we're doing from year 1 to year 4 is hey, we're genuine. We're trying to help you the most. And we build those connections to allow that to happen and just put it all on the forefront.
I love that, Coach. And one of the things you talked about a little bit was the path and the journey. And you kind of mentioned D1 and a couple of these other things. A lot of times at the academy, we're teaching these kids that, maybe straight to D1 or straight to D2 or straight to D3 is not the right decision. Maybe an NIAI school is not the right decision for you. Here's why we think that, because we've been working with you for the last 6 years, and we believe you've got still a little bit of growing to do, which is a junior college can be a great place to do that. Talk about that environment and why it's such a great place to develop to that next level as a student and as an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of like what you said, we can break it up into two. Some kids, all athletic, right? And then, academics was kind of on the back burner. So you have to learn how to be a student. And community college is a great source right there to learn how to be a student, learn how to time manage, learn how to take these different classes that are a step up, from the high school. Sometimes athletes skate by in high school and sometimes they don't, but college is a whole different animal, So junior college is a great place where you have smaller class sizes. Like our class sizes, a max is 35 kids at our school. A lot of times you're getting like 15 to 20 kids to a student. So you kind of get that one-on-one feel, and that teacher knows your name by the end of the first week. They're going to see you grocery shopping. They're going to see all these things. So they know if you're having a bad time or not, or if you're struggling. Like I'll get emails sometimes, hey, so-and-so hasn't looked right the past week and a half. Like, you should check in on her. And I think that is the most powerful thing about Lassen College is everyone is looking out for these kids. So they're really about you learning how to test take, how to take notes, how to be a student, how to do all those things. And that's going to help you at the next level. Some kids aren't ready for that. Some kids are. And that's why junior college is a great place for them. And then athletic wise, like you said, you might be able to get a scholarship, D2, D3, NAIA. But is it the best fit? Are you one of the top 12 that's going to see, huge amounts of playing time all year? Or are you kind of, a little deeper on the roster because you're not quite ready? You have 3-4 tools rather than 5 tools or 2, you know what I'm saying? So that's where junior college is very important. We carry a smaller roster size. We bring in up to 18 because we're trying to maximize everyone's playing time. If you come here and you sit on the bench and you don't get any better and you don't get playing time, then 1, I didn't do my job, and 2, I wasted your time and your eligibility. So we are really trying to get you to the next level by developing those things. And because we can spend so much time with you, we learn to dig into those certain things where at the next level, they're not all about, some of them aren't about getting better. Hey, can you produce or can you not produce at the next level is kind of what it is. So junior college is also a great place to learn through that, not just physical tools, but the mental tools. How are we dealing with success? How are we dealing with failure? Are we able to learn and set those aside and say, okay, I need to take a step back. I am struggling here. How do I work through it on my own and with a coach? And we try to give those tools to them and help them develop that, because you're not going to be able to spend all this time with a coach at the next level. There's time restrictions, that they can spend with each kid in their team. So you have to be able to develop that on your own. And that's where junior college is massive, because we can help the kid develop in every aspect of their life. Academics, struggling with, the tools, getting, better, or mental side. We're seeing a big switch, in the mental side of having to deal with it, because we're such a process or outcome driven world. What can you do for me? So we try to really draw it back on the process and be like, listen, if you do the right things, it's gonna happen eventually. Might not happen tomorrow, might not happen in a week, but it will happen. And that's helping the kids understand that it's okay. It's all gonna work out. It's all gonna be okay. Like we had that this weekend. We coming off the high of the first 2 games, and then we get walked off, and then it's like, oh no, our whole world fell apart. It's like, whoa. First off, that's game 3 of 40. We got a long time, And second off, like you played really hard. Sometimes it just doesn't fall your way. Hit a lot of ball hards. We didn't get the breaks that we needed. You know what? That's why you play another one. You know, we're always looking at the 1-0 mentality, not the long game. So process here of little things matter. That equals the big thing. So, and that's not just softball, that's everything. So I think kids get a better chance to learn that at the community college level because we take our time a little more with each kid because we can. And that's our job, is to get them developed in every aspect that we see. And we get a wide variety of kids. Like I said, I've got kids from every state, cultures, backgrounds, you know. So it's a big melting pot of kids and where they're at skill wise, mental wise, academic wise, and they learn from each other and really develop all those things. And that's what sets them apart from kids going in as a freshman is, hey, I have 2 years of playing experience at a community college level of very good softball, and I can come and make an impact right away. Where you might get, let's say as a freshman, 5 games, sophomore, 10 games. Well, you only have 15 games, where a kid coming in from a junior college has 80 games worth under the belt, and they're ready to go right now, and they've learned from that. And then if you're a junior and a junior, you might not be able to have those same mechanisms that a junior college kid developed to learn how to handle failure, success, those different stressors that apply themselves. And then as a junior and senior, what am I doing now once school's over? You know, so there's all those different life stressors that attach themselves to that these kids are a little resilient to because they've had to develop those different mechanisms and learn from them.
I love it. I love it. Well, this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation, Coach, and I love everything you're doing out there. So I kind of want to give these last few minutes where you wrap up and tell us, how do girls looking to come and play for you and your organization? Because there are going to be some out in our community that are like, wow, Coach Chavez is awesome. I love what he's doing. I love that culture. I want to come check it out. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to contact you? Talk a little bit now about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have an Instagram account, Lassen College Softball. I'm always, on there looking. Field level is another big piece of recruiting tools that I use. I am on NCSA, so I'm on a lot of those different websites. Email is always, the best option. I check my email. I'm on my phone all the time. That's my recruiting tool right there. So, or, a phone call, whatever it is. So email is going to be very, very popular in field level. I'm checking those daily and I'll get back to you right away. So those are different avenues that you can take to get a hold of me. On our website, our Lassen College athletic website, it has all of our coaches and our breakdown and all of our information there if they wanted to get a hold of me. And then, we set up a call, we talk through it. I give you all the information of what we're about, kind of like what I did here. I don't hold anything back. What you see is what you get from me. And I think that's being genuine is kind of what helps kids and parents feel comfortable, and then if we can, we get you on a visit and show you, what we're about, where we're about, everything we have to offer, and we go from there. The application process is pretty simple, so it's really just getting the comfortable feel and getting in those talks and finding the right people and contacting me. So yeah, I'm always a phone call, email away, message on field level, whatever it is. We'd love to have every kid, especially, those kids in those WUI states, because it makes it, affordable. So it's like North Dakota, South Dakota, straight down and to the left. All those different states get that in-state WUI tuition. So that's a huge advantage for us. And it, makes it affordable. So we break down all that as well. And hopefully that answered that question for you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. My one follow-up to that would be, are you comfortable giving us your email or you want everybody reaching out to?
Yeah. Yeah. So my email is CJ Chavez. So CJCHAVEZ at lassencollege.edu.
Perfect. I love it. So another question is, does your baseball program have the same sort of community feel to it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So the baseball program, the head coach, Frank Avila, he was actually my head coach. He was in year 2. So it was kind of similar stories. He took over young, like I took over the softball program young. So, I kind of bounce ideas off of him like, hey, I'm struggling the same way you did when I played with you, dealing with that sort of thing. So our coaching staff is very good at every sport we have right now. We're in a very great place. Every sport is kind of on the up and up. So the baseball field is very, very community field, community based. They bring in a bunch of kids every year, and they've been very successful. I think he's in year 14 or something like that at the helm. They last 2 years they've held regional playoff bursts here at Lassen. So the sports are up and up. Volleyball did the same thing. And baseball is very, very much community based. He really gets the kids out there. Whenever we have a snowstorm, you always see the kids up and down, shoveling snow, helping out, elderly folks or kids or people that can't help themselves. They're putting up the Christmas tree for the Christmas tree lighting every year for our Rotary and things like that. So baseball and softball are very similar in the ways we operate, just because of, we talk all the time and, kind of similar backgrounds and who coached us and our mentors and things like that.
Well, I love it. This has been fantastic. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, Coach. If you'll stay on just a few minutes, I'll give you some instruction after we stop the recording, but I wanted to say thank you. Sounds like Lassen is an excellent place and a community that is very much in line with our coaching philosophy here at the PAC Baseball and Softball Academy. And I loved having this conversation with you, and I wish you the best of luck this season moving forward. Continue your great work and just keep building.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate everyone's time too of listening in.
All right. Thanks, Coach.